Apparently, it wasn't just me that was a fan of the scalar ripoff known as Ratchet Clank, because wouldn't you know, they made a sequel of it. So hold onto your underwear, because we are going commando to get the platinum for Ratchet Clank 2 for the PlayStation 3. If you didn't already know, Ratchet Clank 2 Going Commando is a third-person platform shooter developed by Insomniac Games in 2003 and later released for the PlayStation 3 in 2012. It follows Ratchet Clank after their adventure in the first game, as they are contacted by Mr. Fizzwidget to help recollect a pet prototype that was recently stolen. This all takes place in a galaxy far, far away. And so, a new adventure begins, filled with new weapons, new gadgets, and new characters. Our story is off to a great start, because as we arrive at Aranos, we are too late and the thief manages to escape with a prototype. And so, the chase begins. Once again, I didn't really look at the platinum journey this time around either, so there will probably be a fair bit of jumping around with these trophies. The story isn't as central here as in Dragon's Tavernier that I just made a video on, so we'll check in when it becomes relevant. So, as always, beware of spoilers ahead. Also, before we continue on to the next planet, let me just say, what the hell is the meaning of this? Why can't I turn my subtitles on? Huh? What do you mean they aren't available in this version of the game? You think people here in Europe don't need them? Fine. I just have to pay proper attention when we have cutscenes. Let me say that I don't like this. Even the first game had subtitles. I mean, come on, man. Anyway, as soon as we land on our first proper planet, I immediately noticed that I have played enough of Ratchet Clank to know a skill point when I see one. My intuition was correct, and wouldn't you know, shooting pterodactyls rewards us with our first trophy of the game. On this planet, we are introduced to some familiar collectibles in the Platinum Bolts, in which we need to collect 40 of them in this game as well. We also see another major difference from the first game in upgradable nanotech. The last game we bought 2 upgrades, in this one there's a heck of a lot more. There are 2 possible ways of upgrading this. One is to defeat enemies. The other is to collect a nanotech upgrade that can be found here and there in the overworld. There are 10 of these collectibles, so we gotta be on the lookout for them as we progress further toward the platinum. Some more new things this game introduces are battle arenas, where you either have to fight wave upon wave of enemies or boss fights of various sorts. These are a really cool addition, and we will return to more specific actions for these arenas later. However, I was surprised and delighted as I randomly got a trophy while fighting in the arena and saw that it was for collecting 50,000 bolts, which might seem like a lot, but it is only 2.5% of all the bolts I need in order to collect the trophy for getting 2 million bolts. Yeah, we're in it for the long run again. I really want to praise a lot of the innovations this game brought with it. The arena I just mentioned, this Mario Galaxy-esque planet which was way ahead of its time, this slingshot mechanic from the tractor beam, and spaceship missions easily springs to mind. What I also really like is that they usually don't overstay their welcome, so they keep feeling fresh throughout the entire game. Seeing as the game seems to try a lot of new things, I wanted to check if it allowed for some semi-branching gameplay. Clank is stolen, as he was chilling in his home and didn't want to help us on our mission. Suits him right if you ask me. But for the sake of the story, I guess we'll help him out. But I wanted to hold off on that for as long as possible. I went to the planet of Barlow before going to save Clank, which accomplished almost nothing, since all the quests in that area needed Clank. Though I did pick up some old guns of mine from the previous game. So, with my tail between my legs and some new guns, I went to Endako, saved him, and picked up some familiar gadgets from our home, and returned to meet a familiar foe in Barlow. Hover, bike, racing.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
In our last outing, we had some major problems with these challenges, as speedrun trophies for those were really tight to get. Luckily, in this game it was a heck of a lot easier to beat the required time. Moving on, we see a familiar face in Captain Quark. Huh. I guess Netflix picked up the rights to create a documentary about his fall from grace. It's even a multi-parter. Nice. What's also nice is that with all the racing and all the exploring we have been doing, I have now collected 100,000 bolts, and I'm now 5% of the way to 2 million. Since the racing challenge barely caused me any trouble this time around, something was bound to swoop in and take that medal. And this time around, it was those frickin' spaceship missions where you had to race a dude in some sort of rocket ship. Beating him was no problem. The problem comes when you want to get the platinum bolt associated with the race. The ship controls really funky, and doing sharp turns is a pain in the buttocks. So I tried, and I tried, and I cried when I just couldn't get this to happen. 24 tries. It took me 24 tries to beat this stupid challenge. And all that just for a platinum bolt. I wish I could say that this was the last time, but no, we'll return to this a bit later. Because of course, there are more of these kinds of challenge. At this point in the story, things are getting a bit more clear. Fizzwidget throws us out of his car after accidentally crushing our ship, stranding us on a desert. We find out the supposed bad guy we have been chasing is like us, and is secretly the good guy? Game Theory would be proud. On this planet, we find an upgrade to a wrench to make it more powerful, a cool glider, and we have to traverse a giant desolate desert in order to search for crystals. In this desert are giant bugs and annoying flies, all hell-bent on taking us down. Getting a few crystals is easy enough. Collecting all 100 crystals though, now that is the definition of tedium. Made all the worse by the fact I missed out on one of the crystals, and as such had to double back and search every inch of the desert a second time to finally collect the 100th crystal. We then hand the crystals over to a spaced out crystal junkie to buy a new ship, luckily with all our previous upgrades on it as well, and haul our ass off the planet and over to Dubbo, where we are reunited with a concept from the first game in Giant Mecha Clank. This time it's a bit more fleshed out, and we actually have a giant boss fight associated with the ordeal. A rampaging kaiju battle ensues, and we manage to take down our enemy. At the time we level the entire city for a skill point and a trophy. Oh goody, another spaceship race for a platinum bolt. I went a bit better this time around. I only needed 16 tries to get this one. Note to self though, don't play these kind of challenges when you are tired. You will fail. A lot. I got it on my second try the day after having struggled so much with it. Wonders what a good night's sleep can do for you. And speaking of bolts, I am now familiar with your game as well. When you have the ability to fly in a direction, you turn around or go straight up. In this case, you do both. And it held true for this one. After getting that bolt, we are greeted to yet another battle arena. This battle arena holds the impossible challenge, a grueling 60 rounds of chaos. With my lava gun in hand though, I attempted it a few times, got my ass handed to me, and promptly realized I needed some better gear to beat this one. Speaking of the lava gun, I don't think I have ever seen a bigger downgrade in my life. A new feature of Ratchet Clank 2 is the ability to upgrade weapons by using them. The more enemies you kill with a weapon, the more experience it gets, and when it levels up, it becomes an upgraded version of that gun. Usually that means more ammo, bigger rounds, more firepower, easier way to kill enemies with them. Well, they fucked up my lava gun by doing that. It used to be a lava stream shooting out, so that you could turn around in a circle and this beam would hit all enemies around you, and it was great for crowd control. This new lava gun, however, shoots meteors and hits a single target at a time straight in front of you. Not fun, and it destroyed my way of dealing with a lot of smaller enemies at the same time. So thanks a lot for that game. I am still familiar with your skill point game, Ratchet, but this time you didn't award me with a trophy. Yet, we still need all the skill points in the game to get the platinum. So, we at least made some progress on that one. Speaking of the skill point challenges, these can be a lot of things, like they were in the first game. At least in this game, it isn't that many trophies associated with shooting ships on different planets. This time, it can be for trying to grind rails on the Mosul without taking damage for way too long, for realizing that the wrench is excellent for taking out small prototype pets. There we go, give me my fucking trophy. Let's go! Midtown Insanity. It can be for saving tourists from squirrels on Todano, who are sneaky bastards and always attack when you at least expect it. And it can be for protecting people and their life savings on the Mosul. When going for these skill points, I also got the final bolt for beating a spaceship race. And wow! This only took me 2 tries. I guess I really did get better at flying throughout the game. I don't get how the first one we did was so fucking difficult, and then this is so easy. Like holy shit. Like the difference between the first one and that one, it's night and day. Also, on our way, I fought what has to be the most tedious boss fight I have witnessed in a long time. This giant robot has a gimmick where you need to jump into cannons all over this small cityscape and shoot him with the cannons. The problem is that this boss is very easy, but the amount of health he has is ridiculous. Meaning it takes forever to kill him. And when the boss fight ends up being the same the first minute as it is in the last, and it lasts for freaking ever, then you get a big thumbs down from me. Speaking of stupid, hi, that's me. We have a second Clank fight, and I am ashamed to admit I spent way too long before I figured out you have to jump up on the railing in order to finish off this fight. It is what it is. And finally, at the top of the stupid mountain, is this freaking trophy, where we once again have to collect crystals. This time, we need 101 of them in Grelbin. And this was such a miserable experience. Like, I won't lie, I really didn't want to play the game for a while after going for this trophy. It made me so miserable. This place is crawling with those Yeti types of monsters, and they just won't stop spawning, and they are fast and aggressive. Meaning that going around getting all these crystals means dying over and over again, because they pile on you like 10 of them standing around you trying to hit you when you're going for them. I hated every second of this trophy. It doesn't really help that at one point it glitched out and the Hydra monsters that is supposed to spawn in these big craters didn't want to spawn until I died a couple of times first. At least I had a gadget that showed me the location of the crystal this time around. Still freaking stupid. Glad that I never have to do this ever again. Also, turning in all these crystals put me at 50% of all needed bolts, as I got the bolted down trophy. And we got bolted down as well. Hey, at least it was a 2-for-1 deal. Grelbin is the last area before the end of the game. And you know what that means? It is time for the cleanup process. This process began by returning to the impossible challenge to finally conquer it. I got so close to beating it the first time around. But at the end of the 60th round is a boss fight that managed to wipe me out. I figured out the strategy was to not mix and match guns I used to ensure that the ammo drops were for the useful guns that I used in the challenge. And my go-to became the cluster bombs. And finally, I managed to do the impossible. We did it! We fucking did it! Let's go! Oh, that was so much harder than it needed to be. From there, I returned to Maktar Nebula, where the first arena was located. On my way to the battle arena, I made sure to play the slot machines that was all around the area until I had netted 300 bulls in rewards, but probably gambled away twice that amount. Don't gamble, kids. In the battle arena, I had to defeat Chainblade using my wrench. Since it now was upgraded to the max, this wasn't really a struggle at all. Speaking of not being a struggle, in the time it has taken me to say this sentence, the B2 brawler was defeated without me taking damage. Cluster bombs for the win! The cleanup tour next took us to Tadano and those pesky squirrels. Exacting some revenge after killing all the tourists, I turned 16 of them to sheep. Our final stop for now was to Joba. There are 2 trophies on Joba. One is to kill all the enemies there with a wrench, and one is to shoot 12 birds. It is impossible to get both at the same time, since apparently the wrench skill isn't dependent on if you shoot an enemy. It is dependent on whether or not you shot a gun. So if you fire off your sniper to kill some birds, you set a flag in the code that tells the game you used a gun and therefore isn't applicable to get the Wrench Ninja 2 trophy. This isn't the last time the Wrench trophy gave me trouble, but for now, we shoot the birds and move on. Starting to get a bit tired of the cleanup, I decided to venture forth and stop Fizzwidget and the pet prototype once and for all. After a grueling infiltration process that saw me take down tough enemy after tough enemy, with the benefit that now every gun besides one was upgraded to the max because I had to run through this place so many times, we finally made it to the end, where we find out it has been Quark this entire time? He had a very convincing disguise on this entire time. The Netflix documentary had ridiculed him and reminded him of his biggest failure, losing to Ratchet and Clank. So he is here to exact some revenge and mutates the Protopet into a big abomination. And a very short and very easy final boss ensues, and that's that. Honestly, coming from the first game to this was a big letdown. Fighting Chairman Drek in the first one was a multi-stage and kind of hard boss fight that incorporated platforming and gun combat. This is a single stage and very, very easy boss fight. Nevertheless, the main journey and the first playthrough is over. And on to the challenge mode we go. That was a very easy final boss compared to the last game. The first playthrough was surprisingly short on trophies. There wasn't really any story trophies other than defeating the protopet at the end, which surprised me. Yes, some of the bold trophies will come naturally through playing the game. They aren't story related. Anywho, we are here to talk about the challenge mode. A big plus from this one, from the first game, is that challenge mode brings about a bolt multiplier. So as long as I don't get hit, I can multiply my bolts up to a total of times 20. Making grinding out bolts for these more expensive guns and armor pieces a breeze. So that is the story of challenge mode. Run through the levels again, this time with all your guns and a bolt multiplier. Our first stop on the victory tour is Endako, where we rescued Clank at the beginning of the game. Here I had to destroy 10 enemies using the magnets and cranes on the planet. A fairly easy challenge, but when I tried to do this in the cleanup tour in the first playthrough, there weren't enough enemies to destroy. This time, however, gave me no problems at all. Running these levels with a bolt multiplier also quickly gave me access to the Rhino 2.0. It is time to rip everyone a new one. This purchase was quickly followed by getting 100% of all the needed bolts. 2 million bolts are collected. I am so glad I didn't have to resort to a bolt glitch or anything like that this time around. Just normal gameplay, and there it is. With all these bolts, I decided to buy the last guns remaining. The Zodiac Gadget and the Clank Sapper. Before I pop the trophies, I will just quickly note that in challenge mode, you can buy new upgrades for all the standard weapons you bought in the first playthrough. These do not count towards the upgrade all weapons trophy. And as long as you upgrade every main playthrough gun once by using them enough to get this animation, and buy the Clank Sapper, Zodiac Gun and Rhino in your second challenge mode playthrough, you are good to go. Buying the guns was quickly followed by also buying the final piece of armor in the game. All that remains right now is to finish getting all the skill points and all the platinum bolts. Gameplay wise, there's not a lot happening right now, as the Rhino is ripping ass throughout the galaxy, so I'm pretty much steamrolling everything. Even the impossible challenge became very possible using the Rhino. So our victory lap continues on with grinding another set of cables without taking damage in Bolton, blowing up a snowman on Siberius, returning to the original game's favorite activity by blowing up ships on Snivelak. I did face some troubles when working towards the trophy for breaking stuff from Ursula. To make this trophy easier, there is an upgrade to your wrench called the Box Breaker. You get this upgrade by defeating the monster in the sewer here on the planet. And man, oh man, is this a bullet sponge if I ever saw one. It took almost all my max upgraded cluster bombs and almost all Rhino ammunition to take this beast down. Once it finally was defeated, I could easily become a Vandal. Running around and breaking stuff was needed in a couple more planets for skill points. So I ran around like a madman, jump slashing all over the place. I looked pretty crazy, I gotta admit, it was pretty fun. And here we are again, Joba. killing enemies without a wrench. The bane of my existence. I think I played through this stage at least 6 times with this trophy not popping, and me swearing I never touched the shooting button whilst having a gun out. I went crazy. It was such a pain in my ass. I'm not really sure what I did wrong. It didn't make any sense. I killed all the enemies, backtracked to make sure I got them all countless times, yet no trophy. The run where it finally happened, I had removed all guns from my inventory. I was gonna accidentally shoot something or trick the game into thinking I had shot the gun. I had no guns on me. And lo and behold, finally, I became a Wrench Ninja 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, let's fucking go finally! Oh my god, what the fuck that it took so long. Way too long, what the hell?
This wasn't the only weapon related trophy that decided to glitch out on me. One of the skill points is to kill all enemies on a planet using only the old school guns from the first game. I ran through the planet 3 or 4 times using the Visibombs, Tesla Claw and bombs, all legal guns, yet no skill point popping. I was legit scared my game was glitched and I couldn't get all skill points for the trophy. Luckily, that problem also resolved itself over a good night's sleep. Final stretch now, no more planet specific trophies remaining. It is just the final grind. The final grind started with me hopping in my spaceship and flying around the ghost ship level. As long as I didn't destroy the ghost ship, there would be an endless amount of enemy ships spawning in. Perfect for grinding raritanium in order to upgrade our ship to the max. After about 40 minutes of flying around, listening to some podcasts and some music, in which I recommend listening to Harry Mack, I finally had enough to get the last ship upgrade. Following this was the final upgrades to my nanotech. I'd long since upgraded all I could by defeating enemies, so all that remained was to get the final overworld nanotech upgrades. The final one being in a hover bike race in, wouldn't you know, Joba. My old nemesis will meet again. Luckily, like I said, racing in this game isn't that much of a hassle. It took me a few rounds to unlock the level that had the shortcut with the nanotech, but it was quickly gotten and all my health was now maxed out. This race also holds one of the final skill points in the game, beating the race in under 2 minutes and 27 seconds. I guess I just must be a gamer god, because I absolutely smashed this with a time of 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Suck it, racing, you no longer hold any power over me. The last skill point comes on Todano, and by shooting the spaceships that the tourists came to see, I became super skilled. And then there were 2. A very fun and intricate platforming segment in Smog gave us the second to last platinum bolt, and a cheeky grind in the final level of the game nets us the final platinum bolt. Getting all the bolts should unlock the Insomniac Museum, but it didn't for me. So I figured a way to unlock it was to get 100% completion, which meant going to the shady weapon upgrade merchant and cashing in the last 2 bolts I got to upgrade my guns even further. And there it was. We unlocked the ability to take a museum tour of Insomnia games as we went commando. This completion reward is what I miss with modern gaming. This was such a cool place, where you can hear commentary from various designers and programmers that worked on the game and learn about cut content, design decisions and testing platforms used to create both this and the first Ratchet game. I miss when games gave you these kinds of awards for finishing their games. This definitely beats getting a few skins I won't use or an extra thank you note in the credits. So here we have it, a fulfilling end to an overall enjoyable platinum journey. I think I can safely say I enjoyed the first game a lot more than I did this one. It could just be because it was a new concept, something I hadn't played before, but the first game felt like it had a better narrative and the final boss was just a heck of a lot better. What I really did enjoy about this game though was all the new gameplay mechanics that was introduced. The arenas, the space missions and the innovative ways of using gadgets were highlights. I also really liked the idea of upgrading your guns by using them, even though some upgrades broke the guns and not in the good way. I'm still salty about the lava gun. Also a positive note is that I did not need to perform any kinds of glitches or exploits in order to get the platinum, like I had in the first one. I didn't give Ratchet Clank a rating when I made that video, as I hadn't started doing the review system. I did that in the video that came after it. So retrospectively, I'm going to go back and give that an overall rating of 8 out of 10 and a completion rating of 6 out of 10. Cause that glitch I needed to do was just no fun. I had to do like 2.5 playthroughs to get the platinum. Not a big fan. With all this in mind, the overall rating for Ratchet Clank 2 Going Commando is a strong 7 out of 10. Finishing up the trophies is a lot easier here in this game, though I was playing by a lot of glitches and tedium in this journey as well. But given the fact we got access to a museum as a reward, and yes, I know I technically could have gotten this earlier, the completion rating will stay a 7 out of 10 as well. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you did enjoy this. It was such a fun game to play through, and I'm really looking forward to playing the third and final game in the original Ratchet & Clank trilogy. Next time, we will once again be back with the wheel. So I'm not sure what you can expect yet, but I know it will be good. And in the meantime though, you can check out the very long platinum journey for the last wheel related game to get you hyped for the new one, Dragon Star Vernier. Anyways, remember I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.